right. Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take Sharp and Shapiro. Our new time slot, baby, 9 a.m. to noon. Having some fun. That was an interesting conversation between Michael Avenatti and Steve Sanchez. Hopefully Steve will come in studio on Thursday, and we can continue that conversation. But we are continuing it right now with Mr. Michael Avenatti. Let me start by saying this. What do you think of that character, Steve Sanchez, Michael? I want to get your thoughts.
Well, look, I think he's entertaining. I mean, he's a lot more moderate than than some of these folks on the right. So, I think we can make some pretty decent radio.
I think so, and I hope he joins you in studio with us on Thursday. I think that'll be great. Before we take phone calls at 702-257-5396, I want to play a little bit of audio. You've been pretty outspoken about Joe Biden, mainly because you think he's the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump, and a lot of people agree with you on that. Some disagree.
As do I.
Yeah, but we can get into that, Michael. But listen, he made some very interesting comments over the weekend. He admitted he made a mistake. So I want to play a little bit of audio. This is Joe Biden over the weekend.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it.
Okay, so Biden said yesterday that he misspoke. He said, I meant to say wealthy. I've said it 15 times. What are your response to that, Michael? Because, of course, people on the right, many on Fox News, are blasting Biden for those comments.
Hey, look, he clearly screwed up. I mean, this isn't the first time that he's, gaffed, and it's not going to be the last. I mean, he, unfortunately, has a history of these gaffes. Now, they're nothing compared to Trump and his rhetoric and the many, many mistakes that he makes. Look, I mean, he's apologized for it. He shouldn't have said it. And I think that we need to move on. Now, what I will say is this. Biden needs to play to his strengths. If I was running Biden's campaign, I would not have Joe Biden making many large capacity speeches. I think he does okay in that environment. I don't think he's great in it. I think that his strong suit, his wheelhouse, if you will, is one-on-one interviews, similar to the interview that he gave last week with Anderson Cooper. I thought it was spectacular. I thought it was phenomenal. That's his strong suit. It's always been his strong suit. If I was running his campaign, I'd take Joe Biden out and do 350 one-on-one interviews around the country with every media outlet that would have him, and they would all have him. They would all have him, by the way. And, I think that's how you probably deliver his message in the most in a way that plays to his strengths. But, he shouldn't have said it. There's no question about it.
Do you believe that his age is indicative? He's 76 years old of those comments that he made. Do you think that he's starting to wear down mentally?
I don't know that he's starting to wear down mentally. I mean, he's been in this political process for a while, and he has a history of making gaffes, unfortunately. Look, he's not the guy that he was 20 years ago. I'm not the guy that I was 20 years ago either. So there's no question that age at some point in time is going to have its impact, have its effect. I wish he was 20 years younger. I think there'd be no question, in my view, that he would be the nominee, and there'd be no question that he would beat Donald Trump for all the reasons we've talked about the 5 key electoral states. And really, that's all that this campaign comes down to. It's those 5 key states and who matches up best against Trump in those states. And that's why I'm a fan and a proponent of nominating Joe Biden, because above all else, I want to beat Trump.
For the record, I would also say I'm not the same man I was 20 years ago. Just ask some of the dates I've gone out recently, and they will certainly tell you that. Go ahead, Chris. You have a question?
Hey, Michael, don't you find it rather rich that you have Trump supporters out there that have supported a president who has made numerous gaffes when it comes to verbally throughout not just the last 2.5 years, but basically, the past decade plus? And those people are trying to call out Joe Biden for mistakes that he makes and then apologizes for, right? I mean, it's not like Joe Biden comes out, says something, and then is defiant, as the president is in many aspects, when he says something that's completely ridiculous or completely wrong. And, Joe Biden is the one who actually apologizes and then tries to move on from it.
Well, it is incredibly rich if you think about it. I mean, I agree with you 100%. But look, and I've been saying this now for a year, this race in 2020 is going to be a cage match. It's going to be a knockdown, drag-out battle. And whoever the nominee is better be prepared to do battle down in the trenches and the gutter with Donald Trump. And what that means is they've got to be able to dish out a lot of punishment, but they're going to also have to take an enormous amount of punishment in this toxic environment in which we operate. And if the Dems don't nominate somebody that can do that, they're going to lose, because you can say a lot of things about Trump, and I have and I will, but you can't say that he's not a fighter, and you can't say that the guy will not pull out all the stops to win, because he will. He will stop at nothing. There will be no bounds, gentlemen. I mean, this is going to be a cage match.
I completely agree with you. Again, if you're just joining us, Michael Avenatti on the line. If you have a question for him, give us a buzz, 702-257-5396. Why don't we go to the phone lines, and let's start off with Elizabeth. Elizabeth, thank you for calling into the Vegas Take. You're on with Michael.
Hi, Michael. I'm Elizabeth. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. I always hear you speak highly of both of your parents, your mom and your dad. And which one do you get your caustic humor from? And then which one do you get your fearlessness from?
All right. Good question.
Great question.
Michael, what do you say to that?
Well, first of all, it's very nice of you. I think I probably get both from my mother. I get my work ethic from my father. I was the first person in my family to graduate college, so I consider myself very fortunate in that regard. But, my parents, very hardworking people, really, busted their butt throughout their lives to support me and provide for me, and I consider myself to be very blessed. But thank you for the question.
All right, let's go back to the GCI guys hotline, and let's go to, I believe our next phone call is Eric. Eric, thanks for calling in. Eric, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm not sure if you covered the Epstein already, but he had like his black book leak out, and it had names like Bill Clinton. Do you think Epstein is blackmailing these people with these girls, and do you think Bill Clinton will be implicated?
All right, Eric, that's a fair question. Let's go to Michael on that one. Michael, what do you say to that?
Well, here are my thoughts relating to Epstein. First of all, clearly this guy had a sickness, was a pedophile, and, there's no question about that. Secondly, this was a common occurrence, these parties and these events that he would have with a number of these young girls. I think it would be foolhardy, naive, and plain silly to suggest that other men were not present during these events. There's no question, in my view, that other men were present and that he entertained many of these men with these girls. Now, which men were present and what did they do? That's really what it comes down to.
Michael, did we, Johnny, I think we lost Michael. Michael,
I'm here.
Okay, I'm sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think the question is, which men were involved?
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Which men were involved, and what was their level of involvement, and what did they do? Now, I am incredibly concerned in light of what happened with the death of Epstein, that the truth will not be known, that we will not learn what is on that media that was found in the safe, for instance, and these folks will not be held responsible. I heard a report, I don't know if it's true or not, yesterday, that the woman that was arranging many of these trysts, many of these events for Epstein, appears to have left the country. I don't know if they know where she's at, but, that is very concerning, because I think that there's a possibility that justice will never be done here.
Michael, do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein possibly profited from people visiting this island and being involved in these acts and these trysts?
I don't know that he profited directly. I guess anything's possible. I guess he could have been charging people to go to the island or to go to these events, although that would surprise me. I think to the extent if he did profit, it would have been by way of, what I would call soft blackmail, which is, obviously if some of these individuals knew that he had damaging information that he could use against them, then they would be more likely to steer business deals to him or otherwise involve him in a capacity where he could make money. I think, there could be a degree of likelihood about that. But there's no question that there's a lot of people that wanted this guy dead. And, you know, I just hope that whatever was in that safe and whatever information exists, and I don't care if it's Trump or the Clintons or anybody in between. I don't care if it's on the right, the left, whoever was involved in this, whoever partaked in it should be outed and they should be held accountable.
If you're just joining us again, Michael Avenatti joining us on the line. If you want to give us a buzz on the GCI Guys hotline, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Carl. Carl, you're on with Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Mike. If I ever need an attorney, you'd be the first on my list. Thank God I don't need one right now. But in the debate you had with Mr. Sanchez, I've debated him once before, and unfortunately I just have a master's degree and a PhD, so I'm not on his intellectual or educational.
I love that, Carl.
Sure. You know.
Great call.
So listen, on the gun deal, I've lived in Europe, I've lived in London. I'm a retired clinical psychologist, so I know a little about psychology. And let me ask you, intellectually honest about this, when I've said they should do without the automatic weapons and the 100-round ammos, I get the reply from the far right is, well, they'll use hammers, they'll use knives. Well, would you rather have somebody break into your little child's school with a hammer or a knife or a weapon that can kill 30 people in 30 seconds? I mean, what sense does that make? None at all.
Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I think you make an excellent point, and I happen to agree with you. You know, if you did away with automatic weapons, could people resort to other means in an attempt to kill large numbers of people? Of course they could. Would they be as successful as they would with an AK-47 or an AR-15? Absolutely not, for obvious reasons. You know, had the Dayton shooter had to resort to using a baseball bat or a knife or some other weapon other than an automatic weapon, you know, many more people would be alive today than are alive. And that's just the fact of the matter. You know, this idea that somehow in the United States somebody needs an AK-47 or an AR-15, I don't see the basis for it. And I'm going to go back to what I've said. A lot of people on the right want to point to law enforcement, and they trumpet the job that law enforcement does, as they should, because these people risk their lives day in and day out for our freedom. Ask law enforcement, ask the majority of law enforcement officers, beat cops, and the guys that are out on the street and the women that are out on the street as to what their position on assault weapons is. I mean, they'll tell you exactly what they think, and that is they don't want assault weapons on the streets of America.
Mm-hmm. Mike, I wanted to ask you this. The Trump administration unveiled a new public charge rule restricting immigrants using welfare, for example. And look, people on the right seem to be for this. I don't hear many people on the left agreeing with it. What do you make of this?
I think it's another effort to drive people that are here illegally or that are considering coming to America away and to cut down on immigration. You know, I don't think that these policies are geared entirely towards illegals. I think that the message is clear that Donald Trump and many people that support him believe that politically it is beneficial to create this us against them narrative, you know, and scare the shit out of white people, frankly. I mean, let's be frank. That's really what this is. To a significant degree, that's what 2016 was about, and it's what 2020 is going to be about if Trump has his way. It's going to be scaring the hell out of white people and turning them out to the polls to vote against, quote, them, close quote.
All right, let's take another phone call. GCI hotline is 257-5396. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're on with Michael Avenatti. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
I've listened to the calls, and there's a man just called before, and he's got the psychology thing, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Let me tell you something. He never said a doggone word about mental illness. He never said a word about all our mental hospitals in America that have been closed up. All these wackos that are shooting people are all mentally sick. It's been proven.
Well, that's obvious.
They should have been getting mental help a long time ago.
You're stating the obvious.
Mental help, but there ain't no place to send them.
Go ahead, Michael.
No, let me address that, okay? And I happen to agree with a number of your statements.
You have to.
But the fact of course, but the fact of the matter is, sir, that the same individuals that want to or that refuse to enact reasonable gun control measures like background checks and the like, these are the
have
same
all that
people.
stuff. It's the crazy people I'm talking about. We're not talking about guns no more. I'm talking about state hospitals
Ron.
that I have been in when I was a kid and saw the wackos that were locked up back in Pennsylvania.
Ron, I hear you.
Allentown, Pennsylvania State
Ron,
Hospital. Had 13
you sound like you might need to go back, Ron.
Crazy people that are walking the streets.
Ron, let Michael finish. You asked your question. I'm keeping you on the line.
I'm not talking about guns. I'm talking about
We get your point.
illness.
We get your point, Ron. Let Michael finish his statement. Go ahead, Michael.
The problem is that the same individuals.
I know what the problem.
All right, hang up on Ron.
Ron, you gotta let. If we have a guest, you gotta let the guy answer.
Michael, it seems like Ron also has mental illness, so maybe he does know a thing or two about this. Go ahead, Michael. I hung up on him. Go ahead, finish what you were saying. We apologize.
The problem is that the same individuals that are refusing to enact any reasonable gun control measures in the United States are the same individuals that are cutting funding for mental health hospitals and the care of the mentally ill in America, and don't see it as a problem that they want to fund and assist with. That's my problem with the concept. So I think that we need to do both. And here's what I say. When people argue to me that it's not the guns, it's the fact that we have so much mental illness, okay, let's take it as a given that in America we have a problem in that a number of people are mentally ill. Let's take that as a given. Do we want to now compound that problem by putting guns in their hands? If we know that, shouldn't that actually argue in favor of more gun control until we can get our arms around that problem? Or do we just want to go ahead and make it easy for these mentally ill individuals to acquire weapons that are designed to kill large numbers of people? I don't think that's a tough call.
And I'll do you one better, Michael. Look, there was, obviously legislation on the books in the Obama administration with respect to mental illness and acquiring weapons, right? And what did President Trump do in his presidency about that? He reversed it, right? He got rid of it, okay? And this notion that mental illness in America is, the prime reason that we have these issues with respect to mass shootings. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's mental illness in countries around the world, right? Mental illness is something that affects every nation on this planet. So to say that in America, okay, we have somehow some supercharged mental illness that is contributing to this, I think is ludicrous. And so that's what I would say about that.
I want to take another call on this. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you. I think when you look at the statistics of the number of mass shootings and deaths by mass shootings in the United States compared to every other country in the world, I mean, it is a staggering statistic. I mean, staggering.
It's not even close, right?
Between the United States, it's not. No. You can't. I mean, when you say it's not even close, I mean, you're talking about. I forget what the number.
I'm understating it. Yes,
staggering. I think it's near 2,000 people in the last 60 years in the United States have been killed by mass shooting.
Yeah,
and I think that the next closest country is somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 30 to 40. Deaths.
That's
may
absurd.
Be 100, but it's not even close.
It's staggering. No, you're absolutely right.
Close.
I want to squeeze in one more call before we go to break. Let's go to Marie. Marie, thank you for calling in. You're on with Michael Avenatti.
Hi, Michael. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you, Marie.
Good. I have a quick question. Well, statement first. Regarding the mental health situation in guns, if my memory serves me correctly, that was the first law that the president reversed when he came into office, allowing all of these people that are mentally ill and had been designated as such to now go out and buy guns. So let's party, everybody, okay? The question that I have is I saw on your Twitter page, Michael, that you said something is going to be coming up in the next 8 days, and I wondered if you have any more hints for us.
Good question. Thank you, Marie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Unfortunately, Marie, I don't have any more hints for you, but I think that it's going to be interesting to see what plays out over the next 8 days. And the truth is a very interesting concept because you can attempt to bury it, you can attempt to hide it, and you can attempt to cripple it and avoid it, but eventually it rises to the surface. Mm-hmm. And I'm very anxious for the truth relating to a number of things that I've been dealing with to rise to the surface. I'm just going to leave it at that.
That's fine. And is it fair to say, Michael, you're joining us in studio on Thursday. Is it fair to say that there may be a possibility that you might be able to give out some more information on Thursday?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's certainly there'll be a few more days between now and then, so we'll see what happens.
Great.
But again, I'm anxious for the truth to rise to the surface and let it be known, and then I can be judged.
Well, Michael, we really appreciate you coming on with us. First time we're switching time slots, 9 a.m. to noon, and really looking forward to seeing you in studio for the entire show on Thursday. And we'll get Steve Sanchez back in here, too. That was a very lively discussion. Michael, I know you're an extremely busy guy, so I appreciate you taking some time, and look forward to seeing you Thursday, my friend.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah,
thanks a lot, Michael.
Congratulations on the move.
Thank you, Michael.
See you soon.
Appreciate that. Okay, we'll see Michael Avenatti in studio on Thursday. Got to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this, and we will localize white supremacy. We'll explain when we get back, and we'll take your phone calls at 257-5396. Again, the GCI phone line. GCI guys phone line, I should say. 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us at our new time slot, 9 a.m. to noon. We are pumped. Coming up next, we're going to be speaking with KDWN news anchor John Schaefer. Gosh, it's been like 13 or 14 years since we've been on the air together. So John's going to roll down the news of the day. And as I said, we are going to talk about the latest on this 23-year-old white supremacist who planned out mass shootings in synagogues and the LGBTQ community as well. So we're going to get the latest on that. News anchor here at KDWN, John Schaefer, is going to be joining us. And, of course, we will also take your calls on the GCI Guys phone line, which is 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. New time slot. We're loving it so far. 9 a.m. to noon, Monday through Friday. We're going to have some fun every morning. I'm going to start having to eat breakfast, though, and go to sleep before 4 a.m. That's going to be a little difficult for me. All right, so what was this, like 12 or 13 years ago, right? I was hired here at KDWN along with some very great people, one of whom is sitting right across from me right now. It's been like over a decade since you've heard our voices on the air together. That would be none other than KDWN news anchor John Schaefer. John, I got to tell you, man, it's great to be back here with you. You've been a great friend to me for a long time, so I just wanted to say thank you for that. I do owe you a few adult beverages. I do.
Sweet.
But thank you for being here, and it's great that you're going to be doing the news for us every morning. So
you got it.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. The floor is yours, my friend.
It's nice having live people here in the building with me as well. Well, you just mentioned it, so we'll talk about him. The Las Vegas security guard that once patrolled his neighborhood with semi-automatic rifles, arrested on federal charges in connection with possessing destructive devices. FBI says he had bomb-making materials, planning to attack a synagogue and a gay bar. 23-year-old Connor Climo also chatted online with white supremacists, quoted Adolf Hitler, and drew a sketch for attacks, according to a criminal complaint filed against him. He was arraigned last Friday on allegations that he had bomb-making materials, which the FBI did say they found in his home. The alleged crime is possession of an unregistered firearm. He faces up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine, according to the Department of Justice.
So, John, you've been doing news in this town for a long time. Have you ever heard of anything like this before where white supremacists plan something like a terrorist attack? Because I can't recall.
The two people that ambushed the two
police officers yes.
in the pizza shop.
That is true. That was a horrific tragedy that made national news. But other than that story, I cannot recall another one in the last decade that I've been here.
Yeah, I don't recall one either.
Yeah.
Well, luckily they got to this guy before it happened.
Yeah. So you guys are making a connection to Trump then, clearly.
No,
but silently.
I'm not even bringing up Donald Trump. What I'm bringing up is that when Tucker Carlson, for example, who has zero credibility, brings up white supremacy and saying that it's a hoax, what John Schaefer just read proves that it is not a hoax. Unfortunately, it is alive and well. I wish it was a hoax, quite frankly. I wish John didn't have to read that story. We're going to talk about it coming up in a couple minutes.
Today is the first day of school here in the Clark County School District, and the nation's fifth largest district dealing with one of its largest teacher shortages ever. The Clark County School District has more than 700 vacant teaching jobs. There's not been such a large number of openings during the first week of school since 2014. Some teachers say there is no way staff and students won't feel the strain of having fewer instructors. One teacher said that sometimes she has to substitute for another class in situations like this at the expense of her break time. District officials say teacher recruitment and retention are top priorities in their Focus 2024 plan.
I just also want to say thank God that the studios here are not located near a school because I don't think I'm allowed within 100 feet. Go ahead.
And John, isn't the first day of school, isn't it bittersweet, right? Because it's, signaling, of course, the end of summer, but then it means that you're one more year closer to maybe graduating. So it's kind of, it's good or bad. That
yeah,
first
I can
day of
see that
school.
as a student. As a grown-up, though, I think it's like I don't want the end of summer coming the second week of August.
Right.
That seems odd to me because when I was in school, we didn't go back till after Labor Day.
I'll tell you what, I watched Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead a couple days ago, and that gave me some nice memories of summer as well.
Christina Applegate,
that's nice.
Great movie.
For the record, if your kid is playing hooky and not going to school, please have him tune into KDWN and listen to the Vegas Take.
JD,
Absolutely.
the dishes are done, man.
Or if your class doesn't have a teacher in it, just put the radio on.
Exactly.
This is educational.
All right, Kenny.
Yes.
Allegiant Airlines not expected to have any problem footing the bill for the naming rights of the new Las Vegas Stadium. The deal believed to be between $20 and $30 million a year for 30 years. The first 6 months of 2019, Allegiant showed a net income of $127.7 million, making it the most profitable airline in America.
By the way, I just flew for the first time in like a year or two, and I flew out to see a concert, if anybody cares, in another state. I'm not going to say the airline that I took, but I will say they sucked. I got a really good deal on the flight. They charged me $50 for my bag, and it looked like a carry-on bag. It's ridiculous. It was insane. And what is this stuff about not being allowed toothpaste and razors and stuff? I got in with it fine. I'm not a terrorist. I'm just saying.
And John, I have to say, I was stunned. I was taken aback when you came in the studio before the show and pointed out that Allegiant, out of all the major airlines in the country, is the most profitable.
That's a shocker.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Of course, they're based here, and they hope this will bring them more national recognition when the Raiders start playing here. Alien Stock, that is now the name of the festival being planned as a result of the Facebook joke that went viral. Maddie Roberts, who lives in Bakersfield, created the event page several weeks ago calling for people to join him in storming Area 51. Connie West, who owns the Little Alien in Rachel, Nevada, has been planning nonstop to host up to 30,000 people in her 10-room motel. Don't know how that's going to happen. September 20th is when this is supposed to take place. She says she's coordinating with the public safety people. It's a top priority. She's been in contact with Lincoln County leaders and law enforcement. The event page went viral. Millions of people indicated they would be willing to travel to the remote location. I don't think they know where the remote location is. We're not talking 10 miles from here.
John, what would happen if all these people finally stormed in and all they found in there was alien beef jerky? Like, what would happen?
God, I hope they bring it back out because that stuff is good.
What can honestly be in there? That honestly.
Well, I'm thinking alien computer software.
Yeah. You know what a lot of people are thinking. They're thinking Independence Day, the movie, 1997.
No
They're thinking
way.
that's what they look like.
I mean, all due respect to some of these people, get a life. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous.
So Alien Fest, will there be live music, entertainment? Who's headlining it?
Why do you have to have details?
Alien?
Go and have fun.
No. I heard Alien Ant Farm was going to be
that
playing
would
there,
make
yes.
sense.
That's what I heard. They're a very good band back from the 90s. No, they're not actually. But
Brian, am I not out of line to think this could have a fire festival feel to it, right? We could end up with a bunch of tents out there because of the meager accommodations that John just pointed out.
So, Chris, funny you bring that up. Mark Weinstein from the video, the Fire Festival documentary, is actually coming on our show on August 23rd.
Really?
Nice.
Yes.
It's going to be, 110 degrees out there? Be honest. Guys, John, do you really think this is going to happen?
No, and 100 people go. It's going to be gridlock because there are no roads.
right.
We're not talking Interstate 15.
There's not 2 6-lane freeways that they're going to be taking up there.
You'd think with the name like the extraterrestrial highway, it would be wide enough for a UFO to land on, but it's not.
Are people going to be flying in for this? Like people that don't live here? Do you think?
Right.
It's incredible. Hey, honey, I'm going away for a couple days. Oh, really? What are you doing? Oh, I'm just going to go check out some aliens. Going to storm that Area 51. And it's weird. So you don't think this is going to happen? It's not going to happen.
I think something will happen, but I would be surprised if 30,000 people showed up in Rachel at the Rachel International Airport.
Is that what the airport's called? I didn't even know
they
that.
Don't have an
Do they
airport.
even have an airport
No,
up there?
everyone
Rachel?
has to come here, which is the other issue.
Yeah, that was a joke. Yeah, no, they don't have an airport. I guess you could land your little propeller plane in the desert somewhere, right? It'd be illegal, but I guess you can.
You could land it on the road, but it would be illegal.
You could.
You could try and land it in the Nevada test site.
By the way,
there's a runway there.
Have you been to that place? I think it's on the way. I want to say to California near Prim, where I think it's like alien beef jerky. It's really good, actually. They have a store dedicated to beef jerky.
Where the giant thermometer is.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's really good. I would actually storm that store rather than Area 51 because the food's, you actually get something out of it. The food is actually really good.
But I think you're right, John. I think this could end up being a Vegas destination thing, right? They'll end up here, and there'll be some type of festivities going on, and then it'll kind of like peter out, and nothing will happen with respect to anybody going up there.
So you're saying nobody in this studio has ever been probed by an alien or kidnapped or any of that sort of thing?
I didn't say that.
I can just speak for myself and say, I don't think so.
Well, John is wearing a green shirt, so he's looking a little alien-esque today. Yes,
absolutely.
Well, Mr. Schaefer, is that what you got for us today,
That's
my
what
friend?
I got for you. It's college football season then. I don't have time to go up there on a Saturday.
We'll talk
One
about
more Saturday left until college football kicks off, right?
So what are you saying? You're not a UNLV football fan? Is that what you're saying? You're a Penn State guy, right?
I am a Penn State guy.
Yeah. Do you go to
know that
UNLV
very
football
well.
games?
I've never been to a UNLV.
Why?
I didn't even say it. That's why I can't go. I couldn't cheer.
I don't know
it's
why.
The farewell of Sam Boyd Stadium.
It is
this
actually
year.
that's the password is saying UNLV football game, so you wouldn't get in.
I don't know why. I mean, they seem to be doing so well. They've won so many games over the course of the last 20 years.
They don't have a great history, but I do think they're going to make a bowl game this year. I'm pretty confident in the team this year.
You could probably add up like 5 or 6 years of UNLV football, and that's one season of wins for Penn State football. It's pretty sad.
I'd like to go to a game.
They're fun. They're fun. And I think Tony Sanchez, not to be confused with Steve Sanchez, Tony Sanchez is a good guy. But let's be honest, he has to make a bowl game this year or he's probably going to be out the door. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Well, Mr. Schaefer, this is going to be a lot of fun doing this with you every day. I have something tells me that you're going to be able to come up with some stories every day with everything that's going on in the world and here locally.
Yeah, something happens here every day.
John, thanks for coming in, my man.
Sure.
Really appreciate it. It's like sending me back 13 or 14 years when I had a little bit more hair on my head. But anyway, good to see you, John. Thank you again. We'll take some phone calls on this, too. I want to talk about this white supremacist in Las Vegas. We're going to play some audio for you on this. And again, this is the crazy thing about this kid, Connor Klimo. He's 23 years old. He allegedly sent encrypted messages to white supremacists this year discussing a possible attack using Molotov cocktails, explosives, and the FBI, of course, has been involved in this. Don't you tell me that white supremacy isn't alive in this country, because it could have happened right here. This guy planned to execute people in synagogues. He planned to execute people in some gay bars. I mean, this is just sick stuff. Here's the crazy thing about this. Okay, this kid was interviewed by a local news station not that long ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's only a couple years ago.
And do you know why? Because he was walking down his neighborhood with an assault rifle, pretending to be a neighborhood one-man civilian team.
Well, this is crazy audio we have here. Okay, this is the bomb suspect himself, Connor Klimo, just a few years ago talking to a local news station.
I have my Bushmaster AR-15 rifle, my handy-dandy knife. If there is a possibly very determined enemy, we have at least the means to deal with it.
Yeah, his idea of a determined enemy are Jewish people, innocent Jewish people, and innocent people that might have a different sexual preference than him. What a nut job.
Yes,
so,
unarmed homosexuals, unarmed Jewish people. That's crazy.
Yeah, those are just the worst people. Yeah, what a just complete idiot. Anyway, a local news station here actually caught up to the bomb suspect's neighbor. Let's hear a little bit. Talk about crazy. Imagine if you're living next to a guy like that wants to execute Jews and homosexuals. Here's what his neighbor had to say about him.
There was just nothing that was immediate, like, oh, I think we need to do something or watch out. You know, I'd see him out there playing with his nephew.
Yeah, he went on to say this.
It's tough to really get to know someone with, you know, the interactions that we had.
Unbelievable. You're going to tell me that white supremacy is a hoax? You're going to tell me that it's not a big problem facing this country? Why don't you ask the families of the 22 people that lost their lives in El Paso? Let's go back to the GCI guys' phone lines, 257-5396, the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Jared. Jared, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I do believe that white supremacy is a thing. It's not a hoax, as Tucker Carlson has stated. But, you know, as these white supremacists, they're not very entitled or even joined with the Republican Party or conservatism, which is what, you know, a lot of people on the left say about these white supremacists.
Well, listen, I'm not on the left, Jared, but let me just say this, and I'm going to talk about the El Paso shooting. Okay, in that manifesto, he did reference Donald Trump. He was a Trump supporter, and he used some of the same language that Donald Trump used in regards to illegal immigrants, talking about invasion and that sort of thing. So in no way, shape, or form am I saying every white supremacist must be a Republican, but what I am saying is you have to admit, certainly in this El Paso shooting, he certainly was, and that may have played a factor, right?
Well, yeah, I would say that, but what headlines always make all the time is white supremacists are on the approach, they're growing numbers, and...
Well, they are, though. They are. Hate crimes are up 18% since Trump took office. I mean, I'm not making that stuff up.
No, of course. I know. I wouldn't say you were.
Okay.
But I think the problem is that people don't recognize, or at least, on both on the Republican side as well, is I would most likely agree that they must condemn this as fast as they could.
Sure.
They don't get their points proven, as well as I would say the left should as well.
I agree.
But I would propose this to you also. When you talk about white supremacists, right? What is the party that they're always aligned with, right? You're saying that Republicans have, I think the gist of your point was that, well, hey, look, there's no concrete evidence that Republicans should be any way associated with white supremacists. When we talk about white supremacists, whether it's David Duke, whether it's the KKK, whether it's anybody on that side of things, it's always aligned with Republicans, right? It's always aligned with the right. It's never aligned with the left, right?
That's really,
never aligned any white supremacists with anybody on the left, right?
Why is that? What exactly is the alignment with the right?
Because
most Caucasian males and females are, or at least have been for the last 60 years, Republican?
I don't think that's the reason. I think that, Anthony Scaramucci, and I'm going to quote him also. Look, I'm not in the nature of actually quoting him a lot, but he makes a good point. He says, look, you have to ask yourself deep inside, if the racists think that you're racist, then that's a problem. Okay, so yes, for some reason, white supremacists feel that they are more aligned with the Republican Party as opposed to the Democratic Party. It's just a fact.
Let's go back to the GCI guys hotline. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 257-5396. Let's go to Brady. Brady, what's going on?
Yeah, good morning. I wanted to say about the Dayton shooter. Here he was a Antifa member and a Satanist.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd follow...
Both are true.
Follow some of that stuff. These people that are doing these shootings, the majority are on psychotropic drugs, just like the guy was that shot up Vegas. They're all on forms of depressive drugs, and after they've been on these drugs, somehow it screws up their brain.
Brady, I want to get
you. Them pick up a gun and start shooting people.
I understand, Brady.
Reality.
I think it's more complicated than that, but there is definitely some type of big farm complicity here. A lot of these psychotropic drugs are causing people, are definitely not helping the situation for those that are mentally ill.
So Brady,
when they have weapons,
and I don't disagree with that, JD. But Brady, here's why I bring up Donald Trump when it comes to the El Paso shooting, and I don't bring up Antifa when it comes
to Warren or AOC.
Here's why, Brady. Yeah. Okay, and Republicans seem to want to do that. Name me one thing that Elizabeth Warren has said that you think incites violence. I can name you hundreds of things and moments that Donald Trump has said or done since the campaign trail and since he took office. I'm not an Elizabeth Warren fan. Okay, I'm not going to vote for her. I'm not a big fan of hers. I don't like her. I don't like a lot of her politics and policies. I don't like some of the things she says or does. With that being said, in no way, shape, or form is she connected to this Dayton shooter, and the reason for that is because she's never incited violence.
Well, the guy from Dayton said he would vote for her.
So what? She's never incited violence. So if a guy says they're going to vote for somebody, that means the person they're voting for incited violence? That's insane.
No, but you could make the argument that since she considered Trump to be a fascist, and Antifa means anti-fascist, that there is some type of connection there. And to the wrong person, they could have taken that as incitement of violence.
I understand, but Brady, Donald Trump has demonized illegals, calling them rapists. He's divided this country. Even at one of his rallies, he said he would pay the legal fees if somebody roughed up somebody that was picketing against him at one of his rallies. Time and time again, and he said that his rhetoric brings people together, which is one of the most asinine things any president has ever said, certainly in my lifetime. Elizabeth Warren says some things about policy that I don't agree with, but I can't recall once where Elizabeth Warren incited violence, Brady.
I don't care anything that Elizabeth Warren says, to be honest. I don't take one word that comes out of that lady's mouth for anything.
Okay, but
I don't care if you follow her. I can't stand the woman.
Well, that's not here nor there, though.
Do you care?
That's totally reasonable.
Do you care about what the president says, Brady?
Yeah, I do care about my president, of course.
Okay, so when Chance says send her back and he stands there like an idiot for 13 seconds, when he tells people to go back to their country, when he calls Mexicans rapists, do you have a problem with that?
Well, no, I think he should have changed the word, and you should pack and don't look back.
That's not what he said, number one, and that that's not what he said on Twitter, number one. And number two, what about when he says these Mexicans entering?
He said, I think he should have changed the words.
These Mexicans, I agree then, Brady. These Mexicans entering, they're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. Does that help this country when he uses terms like that?
Oh, well, I don't think it helps, but I'll tell you what, there's an issue, and you got to look at what's happened in the last month. All these border apprehensions are down almost by 50%. Because of his crackdown. The president is stopping the invasion of this country by illegal aliens.
First of all,
you guys got to get it.
It's not an invasion. Yeah, it's not an invasion.
First of all, the reason why we're broke has nothing to do with illegals, number one. Number two, it's not an invasion. Okay, so let's just get it right. It's not an invasion. Number three, the majority of these people are good people that are doing good things in this country. Yeah, do I wish they crossed the border legally? Do I wish they did everything the right way? Absolutely. But that's not America.
Did you see what they changed today, though, the law?
Yes, I did. And I talked about it with Michael Avenatti last hour. Yes, I did.
Because that's a big thing, too, because they can't come here and suck off our welfare system. Like I said, we have people in this country that are true Americans that can't even get health insurance, that are living on
let me ask you a question then.
And we're worried about illegals crossing? Come on, people.
Let me ask you a question then, Brady, okay? If you're suck off, is that the terminology you just used? What about the top CEOs of Fortune 500 companies that are sucking off average paying taxpayers that are all these loopholes that are not paying their fair share of taxes? What about Amazon that pays no taxes? Would you say the same thing? Would you say they are sucking off?
Well, they sure employ quite a lot of people.
That's not my question. Are they sucking off taxpayers? Answer the question. Be intellectually honest. Yes or no?
I don't think they're doing that much. I think
that's a good point.
You don't think they're doing? All right. Well,
they should be taxed.
All right. Thank you, Brady. I don't think you're intellectually honest, but I appreciate the phone call.
Great call, Brady.
257-5396. Bob, you're next. What's up, Bob?
What's up, Bob?
Hey, Brian, how you doing? Hey, I'm glad you're on now because I can listen to your entire show now while I'm working.
That's perfect.
Bob, we are happy to hear that, my friend.
That's what we were thinking about when we made this move.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I only listened to you on the way home before, and once I got home,
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. We appreciate you listening. What's on your mind?
Yeah. My president, I voted for him. I appreciate his policies, but God, he needs to shut the hell up in the things he says.
Yes.
It's. Look, I'm going to vote for him again because, in my book, as a working man, there's pretty much nobody better who's, benefited from his tax plan in the company I work for. So I appreciate the tax breaks.
Wait a minute. However, so is that the end all be all? That's the end all be all for you? That's all that matters?
What do you mean?
Well, what I mean is, like, you brought up that as the reason, as if it's the end all be all to why you would vote for Trump again.
Yeah, look, he's not going to fix this immigration policy, and neither is the president behind him. Nobody's going to fix it. It's a plague that's been, you know what the problem is? Look at the 680 that were just apprehended the other day. The 680 is not really the real problem. The real problem is the people that were employing them. That wasn't just a few that they picked up at, wherever to get to work. They were going out and, getting these people to come work for them illegally.
Yeah. No, I hear you, Bob.
That probably has to be stopped before you can stop anything else. They want to work. They have I respect the ones that, they want to come and work.
I hear you, Bob. Sure. I'm up against a hard break. Let me say I appreciate the fact that you can now listen to the full show, Bob, and we appreciate people like you. Thank you so much. I'm up against a break here. I got to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. Our new time slot, baby. I got to wake up early now, 9 a.m. to noon, Monday through Friday. Steve Sanchez is replacing us 6 to 8 p.m. We're kind of, we're not swapping with him. He's new to the station, but we're swapping our hours, expanding it 1 hour. We got Chris Wynn in studio along with J.D. Sharp, and obviously we're going to get more into detail about this. It is pretty alarming, guys, in regards to white supremacy and this guy right in our backyard. We will continue this conversation. But, boy, a lot to get to in the sports world, too, man. What a wild and crazy weekend it was. Tiger Woods withdrawing. It's insane. USA Basketball was in town, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Not a great turnout at T-Mobile Arena. We'll get to that and much, much more. And, of course, always taking your calls on the GCI Guys hotline, which, of course, is 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. We're going to dive a little bit into the sports world coming up next. Is this the end for Tiger Woods? Or do you say to yourself, well, he'll bounce back and maybe win another tournament at Augusta National? We'll get to that. I'll give you my odds and what I think Tiger Woods' chances are of winning another major. That and much, much more. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.